and welcome to the final week. So this is week 4 discussion group for the September 2017 ambulance exercise. To give you a taste of the feeling that was generated by the October 2016 exercise, the first time this case study exercise, as we call it, was run, these are some of the experiences that were shared. So, just to give you a feel for what people were feeling, and you may want to reflect on what you're feeling at this point, having gone through this very structured process. And here are the 7 points we'd like to walk through. And again, this is the final week of the course, so so there's one more really important sort of event, which is the commencement event, which is where we will be giving the certificates, and where we'll invite participants who have successfully completed a high quality case study to present. So the final deadline to submit your revised case study is Friday. Now, it can be, if you need extra time, you can take until Sunday to do it, but that's really it. The course is ending, so there's no sort of extensions. We'll be drawing conclusions on Monday morning, so that's so really your work this week is to look at the feedback you've received, and Caroline will be looking at yours to make sure you've received some. One thing that was really good is almost everyone had the 3 reviews. So the people who submitted their work, everyone did a really, really good job in terms of submitting reviews. There are some areas for improvement, and maybe Michael will say something about that later, with respect to the kinds of feedback that people gave, and maybe I'll comment on that as well a little bit later. So these are the 5 requirements. These are the 5 requirements for certification. So you will receive a certificate of participation if you have met all 5 of these requirements. The first thing we'll be looking at is really, have you submitted a revised case study that actually shows that you've made an earnest effort at improving what you initially submitted to make it better, to tell a more easily understandable story, to go deeper with the analysis. Yes, that's one of the keys to this process. Here are the things you should be doing this week. Making sense of the peer reviews you've received. So that's that means reading through them, trying to figure out in some cases what people meant, figuring out, and then really you're still responsible. It's your case study, it's your story, so you're responsible for figuring out what you actually want to or need to change in order to make the case study useful to someone who's not from your context, to someone other than you. So you want to think through what you can improve. You want to make sure you have time. It's already Wednesday, so you only have a couple of days left. And then there are some optional community activities, but we really encourage you by this point, if you're still here, then you're probably going to be interested. We're sharing standard operating procedures. We're sharing pictures from our work. So that's everything from equipment to colleagues to community to organization, just to show where we work. We've been working from a distance, and some of us are halfway across the world from each other. And then there will be a post-course survey, so you can give us some feedback on how we can improve and make these kinds of exercises better and more useful and relevant to your work. Community activities. So there is a short survey on attacks that we shared in October 2016. I actually need to check with Fred if we're going to invite you to complete that one, but that so that's very short, very quick. You just I can describe what in your context the kinds of challenges that you faced. We'll be discussing the case studies, and then these are some of the activities that you'll be invited to partake in. Now, next week, there is only one thing that you will have left to do, and that you will receive a request for what's called a publishing agreement. So this is not to so we're not publishing a book, or at least not right away, but basically we're hoping that at least some of these case studies will be useful to the Healthcare in Danger project. And for that to happen, let me just mute. Yeah, for that to happen, we need your consent. So if there are sensitive issues, obviously the partners involved, and you'd be talking to Fred from Norwegian Red Cross, are well aware of what the sensitive issues could be. And the commitment we make is really just nothing will be published unless any and all sensitive issues have been satisfactorily resolved with all involved. So that's you, your organization, whatever else may be at stake will consider it. And but if you keep this case study that you've developed to yourself, that's not as potentially useful as is the decision to share it, to make it shareable, which can help other people working in this field, which can help organizations and stakeholders understand what is happening in this field. So this is feedback from the first time we ran this exercise, and really just a very positive feedback. We looked really hard for negative feedback, and we're going to be asking for your own feedback, but this is to give you a feel for what we had last year. Now, yeah, let me just pause a second and yep. So that's it for the presentation. Yeah, let me unmute you, Michael, and if you're able to follow along, and hello to Peter and yeah, Michael, if you're able to hear us at this stage.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
Anything you want to add about the week 4 part before we move into participant presentations?
Nothing much really. No, thank you very much for going through that. It's just to we're not going to dwell too much on the feedback, as Reda has mentioned. Some of the feedback that you may have received was not as constructive maybe as we've seen in previous exercises. So some of you may have received some feedback with very limited information, 1 or 2 words in each box, and maybe inexplicably low or no rating at all. Hopefully you've received at least 1 or 2 reviews, and we're going to hear from each of you in just a moment about the feedback you've got and what you've done with it and what you're planning to do with it. But if you're in a situation like Caroline, I think it was, who mentioned that she doesn't appear to have any, and there's a technical issue, then please stay on after this session and we'll try and resolve that for you. And if you've received feedback that just isn't at all helpful from anybody, then obviously please let us know as well, and one of us will re-review your assignments and give you some feedback. But hopefully you've received at least one thing that was constructive. Some of you I know have submitted already, but for those who haven't, we're going to use the rest of this session just to hear from some of you about the feedback you got, and hopefully Reda will be able to bring it up on the screen and share it, and we'll take a look at it.
So yeah, I'm looking at Caroline's work, and I do see three reviews. So let's go have a look at that. Maybe there's a confusion, and we'll try to figure out what, if there is a confusion about this, what exactly is happening. So yeah, here we go. And let's unmute you, Caroline, so you can see what. And again, the main reason why people, oops, I can't seem to be able to unmute you. All right. Sorry, folks, but I'm not on my usual computer either. Okay, and let me just mute everyone and then unmute Caroline. Caroline, are you able to speak to us? Hello, Caroline. Okay, you need to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Yes.
Sorry,
Hi,
there's a
Caroline.
storm here in case. Yeah. Hi.
All right. And where are you connecting from?
Nigeria.
Okay.
And the network might not be too great. There is a storm here.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I've just seen it. It's come up, but I couldn't access it during the week.
okay. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reviews have been available, but maybe it depends when these were done. But you do have three
Okay.
reviews. And so we'd like to give you a couple of minutes to present your case study and maybe go through the yes, go through the. So have you been through the reviews yet?
Uh, Actually, I think maybe for technicalities, I wasn't able to read the reviews that were made on it.
Okay.
So I can't say I have much to comment on really.
Okay. So then let's have yeah. So going into reviews, you have first a summary. Yes.
Yeah.
That'll give you that shows you just the ratings, but the ratings are not the interesting part. And I'm sharing my screen, so you should be able to see what's
Okay.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you can go and dig into the individual reviews. So yes,
Okay. Yeah.
so for
Sure.
example, your first reviewer says the story is presented well, but not using our structure. Therefore, it's hard to follow the development of a case study. Please follow instructions and rebuild the case study accordingly. Um, and then what you want to be doing this week, especially if you haven't started yet, is read through these and make a decision. And the decision is yours to make. Do you want to change the structure as this reviewer has suggested, or
Okay.
yes? And then he or she has also suggested that this is a place where you could insert in general information, um, just to introduce yourself. And this is a colleague in the course. This is not necessarily a member of the course team telling you what to do by
Yeah.
any means. So you have to read through this and think about it. And this reviewer at least basically refers you to the case study instructions. And I'm going to give you the um, let me see the basically we know what we say in these cases is we know that you're motivated or else you wouldn't be joining the discussion group. I think that's yes. Um, and so yes, if you've made the effort to be here, we should be making the effort to uh, help you. So that's a link to download the case study assignments. Okay, so that's your first reviewer. Um, any thoughts or reactions about these reviews or this
Well,
first review?
yeah, I think they sound positive. I will work hard to do that, and probably I might need support from other members of the team. I'm a bit confused about what structure is meant by here.
Okay.
Is it
So
like
here, so this is how peer review works. The second reviewer gives you a 4 out of 4 on structure and says the narrative is clear and well organized, and just suggests that you add headings to separate the segments of the case study. So maybe
yeah?
the first, so you have to decide who's right between these two reviewers. Says he or she found your case study an enjoyable read and encourages you to keep up the good work at ICRC. Um, on general information, they're a 3 out of 4. And again, this is just to get you thinking about what that rating means. And here there are some, oops, some comments on that, general information. The same with the incident description. So there was a clear, simple summary of what happened. However, here your reviewer suggests that you add more, you situate in time, like when exactly this happened.
Okay.
And who were you with? Were you with your teammates? Yes. And then on the analysis, this reviewer, unlike the first one, says that you explored why the incident happened, and seems to find that you had, sort of the 4 out of 4 means excellent analysis. So when you have with these peer review comments that you receive, because there's a third review, and I want to leave time for other presenters, but
Yeah.
here your third reviewer says too long narrative introduction and too much personal information, although I have to admit it's a great career. Okay, how you interpret that, yes, what you do with it, that's up to you. What we ask is that your reviewers put in time, some of them a very long time, some others maybe a very short time. That's and the least you can do is go and see what they have submitted. And then you have to make the decisions and organize your time in order to actually be able to, take this, and make the edits, make the changes that will make this a better, a better case study, a more useful case study for the for yourself, for your own practice, potentially for colleagues or other people in the organization, and for the Healthcare in Danger project. So that's. Okay, so I'm glad that.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right, so good. Yeah, I hope you'll. And do you have time scheduled to actually work on?
Yep. Yeah. I'll do that definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so you know when the deadline is?
Yeah, that's 29th, Friday.
Okay, perfect. All right, sounds like you're all set. Thank you, Caroline. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Cheers.
Okay, and I'm having a problem with unmuting on this machine. Okay, let's. All right, let me see. Let's start. Okay, Peter has. That's right, and we said that Peter. Okay, I can't seem to unmute Peter. Let's see. So let me try a different way. Peter. Yeah. No. Okay, so I'm going to have to unmute everyone. Peter, would you like to unmute yourself? Okay, this sometimes. Okay, here we go. And Michael, let me unmute you as well. If you would like to share your comments and feedback for Caroline on her work while I look for Peter's case study.
Yeah, sure. It's good to see the feedback look quite detailed in there, and it was, as you said, a classic example of two different reviewers giving two different perspectives. There is no right or wrong way of completing this. It is a personal thing for each of you to do. So my suggestion with the feedback is don't take it too personally. If someone is being overly critical, please also remember that for some, English isn't their first language, and they may come across as being a bit harsh, but I'm sure it is well-intentioned. So if you feel it's of use and value and you agree with it, then you can make the changes. If you don't agree, still reflect on why they may have said that. If it isn't clear to somebody, particularly often context we find, where you work or what you're doing is an issue, then reflect on whether you think you need to add more or not. In this example here, like the point that was made about there being too much personal information, personally I like that. I like to hear a lot about the context. I don't think that's a bad thing, but if that was my review, I would go back and think, well, have I put too much in, and look at it again. And if I decide I haven't, leave it. If you think that they have a valid point, maybe edit it down a little bit. So you don't have to make changes, but just take a view and see what you think about it. But yeah, Caroline, looks like some useful feedback, so I hope you can move forward with that.
All right. Okay, let's go to, we're now looking at Peter's work. And Peter, you've had your hand raised. We ended the last session. We didn't have a chance to get to you. So here is your chance. Tell us where you're at, first of all. If you can unmute yourself, please. Peter, are you able to unmute yourself? Otherwise, we're going to miss out on your participation again. Yeah, Peter.
Thank you. Now, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, indeed. Welcome. Good to hear your voice.
Thank you. I'm connecting from Nairobi, Kenya.
Yep. Great. Good to have you here. Are you able to see the screen I'm sharing?
Yeah, I'm about to see my screen.
All right. So there is obviously a technical problem with your with putting together your project. You pasted in things obviously that have nothing to do with your case study. You can see here, but you tell us what happened, and if you've had, I'll zoom in on the feedback you received. So here's the summary, but that's just the ratings. And then both Michael and I actually just reviewed your work. You know, yeah, tell us, have you had a chance to look at the feedback? What are you thinking of doing in the revision?
Okay, thank you. I've looked at the feedback. Still going through them to do some editing, the places where I've not done a entry. I may commit and time. As you can see, my project was about a live shootout.
Yeah.
So, Brenda, can I go through my project?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Just before you do that, Michael was referring to, for the first time in Scholar Project, we saw things like this, and I'm not sure if it's someone whose difficulty with English, you know, is really significant, or but we've never had this happen before. So, you know, this obviously is not a useful review, and we're not sure if it was submitted by accident or what happened. But obviously, if you received, there's like, you know, very few like this, like 2 or 3, I think. But if you, like Peter, receive one of those, of course, there's no way to make use of it. Okay, Peter. Yes, you wanted to share with us your case study. What we're interested in tonight, once you've summarized it for us, is really what are you planning to do to improve it with your final version?
Okay, I'll go through it. Then I'll do editing with the places where I've not had enough information. And before I submit it at 9, I'll give out all information on what is that today. But my about live shootout, responding to a shootout blazer. Okay, Renda. Renda, can you hear me? Okay, Renda, it was on March this year. During that day, I was on duty, out, whereby we experienced a lot of shortages. Hello, Renda.
Yes, I'm having trouble hearing you. You're breaking up, Peter, unfortunately. Can other people, yep. Anybody else able to?
No, Reda, I'm having trouble. I can hear you fine, but I can't hear Peter. He's unreadable.
Okay, yeah. All right, Peter, very sorry. I'm going to have to mute you. We have just a few minutes left. I've been able to look at your case study, and we've seen a little bit of the review, so thank you for your efforts, and hope that you have time scheduled in order to finish your work. Let's let me now go to Lynn. Whoops, and I'm having trouble unmuting people.
Just while you're doing that, Reda, just to for Peter, if you can still hear, even if you can't speak, I think one of the issues you had was I think you copy-pasted the rubric into your assignment to help you write it, which is probably a very good idea when you're drafting it, but you'd still left it in there. So in the midst of your assignment, there was all the original instructions, which made it a little bit difficult to read. So for the final version, I think you just need to read through and take out the headings and the advice document, and just leave yours back in, and you have kind of a part 1, 2, and 3 at the top and at the bottom. But I think this is described in the feedback as well. So the content is good. It just needs a little bit of restructuring just so it's clear to the person reading it. So if you have any difficulty understanding the feedback, then obviously please speak to us on the chat, and we'll give you some help.
Yep. Thanks, Michael. Okay, let's go to Lynn. I've pulled up and shared your case study, and so if you would care to unmute yourself, and we'd love to hear about your experience, what you wrote. You'll need to unmute yourself. So click on the the button that looks like a microphone. Yeah. Oh, are you not hearing? Are you not hearing it all? Yeah, Lynn, are you able to hear me? Lynn, are you able to hear me at all? No. Okay. You need to unmute yourself. I don't know if that's actually a verb, but okay. Well, okay. Let's try. Okay. Let's try Raymond then. And Raymond, you had presented. I've been trying to start with the people who haven't presented yet, but that's fine that you have. Let me go. So Raymond.
Lynn could hear you just a little, so she just maybe have to higher the volume on her microphone and maybe on her speakers.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, while she works that out, welcome and good evening to.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Here is your case study, yeah. And tell us. So what you if there's any you have actually 5 reviews, including Michael's and Fred's. So when it's the course team, you can see who did it. Is there a review that you'd like to discuss and tell us how it's going to affect, what you are doing for your final version?
For the final version, the presentation is okay. The structural presentation was okay. The general information I think is somewhat okay, but the analysis and the incident and the analysis maybe should need some clarification. What are the police's role in this case? What are their specific role? And who is dispatch? Not everyone knows who dispatch is. In Norway and in many other countries, dispatch is our command and control center. Not so much command, but very much control center and communications. And I maybe have to clarify the procedures better, or what kind of an autonomy the EMTs in Norway have, the emergency medical technicians. Hi, Michael. You have a great horn there. What kind of autonomy the EMTs in Norway have, and what we don't have. In Norway, as many other places, the doctors have the last word. But on general basis, all authorized healthcare workers are given stronger autonomy over their work. We are encouraged to think and decide for ourselves, to take a big responsibility for the patient care. And in this case, my partner and I experienced being overruled by dispatch, our command center. They didn't trust us in our threat assessment and our potential violence assessment. So I have to clarify that a bit better. In the greater picture, the incident in itself, do you still hear me?
Yes. Yes.
It got so quiet here. In the greater picture, the incident in itself is of lower importance. It is what we did afterwards, the incident, that is interesting. What did we learn? Did we alter the procedures or implement new ones? And why did we do so? I think also that should be the main focus of courses like this. What did we learn that others also should know? the incidents are, as I said, they're not so important. What did we learn, and why did we alter our procedures?
Okay, thanks for that, Raymond. Let's hear from Fred. You reviewed Raymond's case, and now that, yes, we're nearing the end of the exercise, would you like to, do you have any additional comments? Or yeah.
Well, given that Raymond is operating in Norway, I have a little bit of inside information. So I was asking, I don't know if you have my comments there. Is that my comments? Yeah. Regarding the police carrying firearms in the context there. So in Norway and Iceland, it's true, like police don't traditionally carry firearms, and then in recent years, due to sort of the terror threat, sometimes the police are armed just temporarily in higher risk phases, if I can call it that. And at least for the Red Cross, it has created some new policies in terms of how should we interact with the police. I mean, of course, we have to coordinate and in some missions cooperate with the police, but how does that affect us when they're armed? Like, it increases the risk perhaps of being caught in crossfire. Would it in certain communities affect our perception? Now, like Red Cross or non-Red Cross pre-hospital providers, if they're seen responding more or less together with the police, armed police, as a kind of an impartial and neutral healthcare provider, side by side with the police. So it was more questions like that I was interested in hearing more about, because yes, Norway is a very peaceful context, but we've had this really minor change, so I was wondering if that's affected any of the procedures or reflections of Raymond's service.
Yes, I'm a member of Red Cross Search and Rescue Teams myself, so I know this discussion very well. And in Norway, actually, there are more strict policies from Red Cross teams using or cooperating with armed police than the ambulances have. It's not a problem for ambulance personnel to have armed police by their side. In this particular case, armed police did not have an impact on the situation. It's just how I would describe the domestic cultural political landscape in Norway. It's not, as you said, it's for potential terror reasons that the police sometimes are armed, not because of daily domestic problems. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you, thank you, Fred. Thank you, Raymond, and to the other presenters. Apologies to those who have not had a chance to share their reflections and what they gained from peer review. But your task is nevertheless to look at and think about what other people said, what your colleagues in the course said about your work. Make decisions about what you want to change. Again, refer to the rubric, to the assignment, to the case study assignment, to see what should be in a case study. Of course, you can do better than what's in there, but at least make sure you're meeting these requirements and addressing issues and problems that your reviewers have highlighted, if you feel that what they've pointed to is a legitimate concern. So that's it for week 4. Next week, you will get the publishing agreement request, which is very important that you don't miss that. There are all kinds of activities you're being invited to in the Scholar community, so make sure to check in there. I've highlighted what some of those are. And most important, if you have your calendar on your phone or on your computer, please take it out right now, because I would like you to write down 8 o'clock Geneva, so that's UTC +2, on the 11th of October, so that's a Wednesday. That's actually the same time as this discussion group. We're going to have a commencement event, which will consist of an address to the participants who successfully completed the exercise, the presentation of the certificates, and then participant presentations. So there you will have more than you will have time to present your work, your case study, working from that you've done, what you've completed, the final version, using all the feedback and the inputs you've received. So you'll be invited to present there. So don't miss this. You're welcome to invite, if you have colleagues and you'd like to show them a little bit about what these ambulance exercises are about. This is an open event. We have 200 seats. It's online, of course. It's not in Geneva. It's Geneva time, just to no one gets confused. If you'd like to invite friends or relatives or family, you're welcome to do that. This is just like, if you'd like to show them what you actually did for 4 weeks in front of the computer when you could have been doing other things. So that's it. Thanks for joining, and thanks for your persistence. We have a very large group, very impressive group of Arabic speakers. Many of them have already revised their work and submitted. So that's, I believe, over 60 people who are working together. We have our group, which is around 15 people, and then we have 2 Spanish speakers who have been working diligently and peer reviewing each other. So that's we'll be together for the first time during the commencement event on the 11th of October. We'll have all 3 language groups attend. English will be the working language. So that's one more reason to join that event. So back to you, Michael. Let me make sure to close this final week 4 session for this exercise.
Thank you, and I hope you're enjoying the sounds of the Lebanese traffic as well. We're trying to keep it as quiet as we can, but thank you very much to everybody who's joined this week and in the previous weeks as well. I'll echo what Reda said, that you are giving up your time to do this. I know it may not be any direct cost to you, but it is your time which is the most valuable thing. So thank you to everyone for contributing to this work. As was mentioned, we're not directly publishing these case studies immediately, but we will be using it. It's not just going to sit idly, and may well form the base of some future research on this. So your case studies will be read. They won't just be filed away. They will be used, and they'll be a really, really valuable resource for the work that the wider teams around this project will be supporting. So thank you very much for that. And also to reiterate, as Reda said, the community doesn't end this week. This is the last discussion group, but we'll meet again on the commencement. And I look forward to hearing your case studies and reading them after you've submitted. So thank you very much to everyone, and have a good evening or morning wherever you are.
Thanks a lot, Michael. Let me just try to unmute everyone. I've been having trouble with the mute button.
Enjoy your evening or day or whatever, or night.